Good morning from Vietnam, everybody. My name is Joshua from Vietnam, and I'm coming at you here with my good friend Sash. Go ahead and fill your cup with whatever bitter brew you're drinking, because today we're going to be talking about the Dow Jones Index and the overall stock market calamity ever since the elections have happened. It's going to be an interesting one for sure. Sash, how are you doing today? Are you with us?
Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
We can now. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. What about you, Josh?
I'm doing pretty well. It was a very busy week with Thanksgiving going on and everything. A lot of stressfulness around that, but a new
Yeah,
week
we
has
had
started.
Chinese turkey as a result.
Chinese turkey, indeed. We laid out quite a feast for our friends here in Vietnam. There was chicken, there was duck, there was oysters, there was fish, there was shrimp, there were pumpkin pies, pecan pies, there was wine, there was mulled cider, there was beer, everything needed for festivity. A lot of friends and some family. So overall, it was pretty wonderful, but it was a lot of work to make it all happen.
Oh, yeah, it was amazing. Like it was like a nice. It was like a real Thanksgiving back home.
That's exactly what the plan was. My little sister and I
Yeah.
spent quite a few days getting that ready, and Sash, among other guests, were invited over to our home, and we held quite a wonderful celebration. Though a few of my guests hit those space cakes pretty hard, and they were as high as
Oh yeah.
I appear to be with a green screen behind me. So that was pretty entertaining and
Yeah.
unintended overall. So let's take a look here at what this looks like.
That's the Dow Jones. It crossed over 30,000 points.
It did cross over 30,000 points, I believe, for the first time in history.
And the reason being is it's the market is predicting that we're gonna have Biden in the White House.
You think the markets are still predicting that we're going to have Biden in the White House? That's pretty interesting.
Yes.
I've been looking at this back to back, and I don't think we see genuine speculation here. And if you want me to pull up a couple A-list stocks for us to compare how the DJI compares to those A-list stocks, we 100% will do that. But let me switch this over here to a candlestick presentation. And let me explain to you why I don't think we're seeing any speculation in this market. So I'm going to set the candlesticks for 1 hour, but I'm going to zoom in here to the beginning of November. Are you familiar with how a candlestick chart is read? If I zoom in
Yes.
giant on one,
It's all one stick represents like say if you have a 1 minute stick, if you're like doing a
these
one
are 1 hour
minute.
sticks right here.
Yeah, yeah. So I yeah, and then the candlesticks will represent uh I mean like the what's it called, the tower things, those small skinny things. They represent what the hourly high or low is.
Right, we call those wicks. That's exactly right.
Wicks, right, right.
So, like to give an example here, the color of the candlestick lets you know whether the direction was up or down. If it's a red candlestick, it went down. If it's a green candlestick, it went up. And then what you'll see on the other end is either colored or uncolored wicks, depending on how it goes. And if I have a wick here at the bottom, what that means is during the length of this candlestick, let's say this candlestick represents an hour. That is the lowest that it went. And then if I've got that candlestick at the top, it means that is the highest that it went. My entire candlestick will be red here. Now I'm going to switch over to blue so you understand I'm not talking about anything else. So let's clarify. Since it's a red candlestick, we know it opened at the top of the candle and we know that it closed at the bottom. If it was a green candlestick, that would obviously be reversed because a green candlestick implies that it's going up, a red implies that it's going down. And during that 60 minutes, this wick is the highest that it ever reached in the duration of the 60 minutes. Though this is where it ended. We know that's where it ended at the end of the 60 minutes because the color red. And then this bottom wick would be the lowest that it's gone. So here is why, get rid of my drawing there. Here's why I doubt this is real, genuine speculation in the market. So I pull this up. These are 1 hour candles, right? And I'm going back here towards, let me zoom out a bit. I want to see the beginning of the month because you're speculating that the cause of this is Biden winning.
That's not just me saying it. That's Jim Cramer, Mad
Mm,
Money.
yeah.
That's just about a lot of
Who does Jim Cramer work for?
exactly. But he did predict the recession like at least a year before it occurred. So
Well, Kramer is not a bad analysis. Now he's a TV analysis, so he's far from a finance guy. Now he's an entertainer as well, like all TV and anything. But you're right; he's definitely had some great calls. But we have seen the trend for ourselves go into a more corrupted media, not less. So I agree with you that the same networks that are calling Biden to win are saying that this jump is predicative of the Biden celebration. But here's my problem. Let me go full screen on this right here. We see that this climb, we see a falling into the elections, which honestly with how politicized our elections were this year, that's kind of a hard thing for us to be surprised about, right? It seems kind of obvious to me as we see this. And we see the falls. Maybe one here, I guess we don't. But in general, we see these downward trends. Whereas these spikes up, we don't really see. We see these upheavals by large inductions of cash into the market, and then just this blank space. We see a trailing candle, right? So if I highlight this area, we see this
wait,
trailing
no, wait, no,
candle.
no. Wait, that might be just where the market left off before the weekend.
Oftentimes, that's what it is. Not always. It could be where the market left off overnight because these are not 24-hour
Yeah,
trading cycles.
yeah.
So yeah, you're definitely right. If you can see in the bottom right, if we take a look down there, my chart is in UTC. So even though these are showing 8:30 p.m., please don't be confused. That's just midday in UTC. That's midday on the markets. Remember, markets open at 9:30 and close at 4:30. You're right.
UTC.
These jumps are so what we're seeing here, and let me drill into this one because this is the major one that happened, right? This is the one on the 5th. Let's take a look at here. All right. So do you know what these lines here are at the bottom?
That's the volume of shares. Like that. That's
Volume,
like
right?
the volume. Yeah.
Volume. So we see all of a sudden this massive insurgence of volume, and we see pure flatness in the day. And then we see the volume drop off back to normal levels, and we see this giant jump. So the election was on the 3rd, which means you are right in this case that this giant jump was over a weekend. So you see we're going through November 6th, and then we're opening up again on the 9th. So here's the point that I want to make is that we have a pretty much non-happening day, right? This non-happening day right here where it goes up a little bit and then it comes back down. Then we close for the weekend where something off the books gets dumped into the stocks that make up this index. And then we see this super high pegged opening the following Monday. But the market can't support the insurgents that came in. So we have 2 consecutive days of dropping. then a slight recovery, and then dropping, and then we see this wishy-washes. But we do also see this downward tendency beginning to return, right? And then we see an insurgence again. We see this break again on weekends. So I mean, obviously someone is supporting this, but I would reckon it's nefarious actors and not speculators. So let's
I
take a
think it's
look.
both. I think it's both, man.
I want to take a look
Like
here at Apple. I haven't
okay,
checked out this stock already. So we're at 1 hour candles, and here,
Apple is coiling right now.
yeah, I need to see a 5 year chart to kind of make sense of this first. Okay, so the coronavirus dump hit them like the rest of the world, and then the rebuilding sent them skyrocketing, but they skyrocketed pre election. So, not a perfect representation of the Dow, where you've got Tesla that seems to
Tesla,
fit the Dow a
Jesus.
little bit better. Yeah. Um, Another thing I can think of that might be worth checking out would
Hey,
be
can you put on
Amazon.
Netflix? Yeah, and then Netflix.
Sure. Go ahead and talk while I'm pulling these up.
Basically, next year I do think the lockdowns will officially end, and I think that Netflix is going to lose really bad next year.
So Amazon seems to hit this spike in the beer bug times of March, but really, if we look at just their
They flatlined.
election, yeah, they're totally flatlining. That's probably because of a lot of negative press that we're getting and a lot of inspiration to shop local. Um, I think that investors are probably just staying away from them as a whole. So let me. Sorry, I'm not quite ready for that. You wanted to take a look at Netflix as well. Now, here's the
Yes.
interesting thing with Netflix is Netflix, it's not like Amazon, right? As Netflix usage goes up, so do their costs. They care about total subscribers. I doubt the corona times really made the Netflix subscribers go up, even though it probably made the average Netflix usage go up significantly. But they don't make money on usage, they just make money on subscribers. So we see here, let's turn this into a line to make it a little easier to check out. And why don't you talk this one through? I'm going to give you the no, sorry, let me give you the year to date and tell me what you see.
Here's what I see here. Okay. Fuck. It's a little bit small. What? We go enter full screen here. All right. All right. All right. So year to date. So that's
Yeah, that's from
okay.
January to
Okay.
today.
Can you okay, so January is when we first heard of this virus, right?
We don't see any market inflections. The market inflections don't start until really early March, where you see things start to freeze, and then the sell-off happens March 3rd.
Right. And now, but here's the thing though. Netflix has been the biggest winner of this pandemic. Them and the FANG stocks in general.
How? I don't see Netflix subscribers going up. And didn't they release that pornographic movie about children that caused them to lose massive amounts of subscriber listings? If you look off of their earnings that came out in October, they had quite a bit of a crash on that earnings. And if you look at their earnings before, once again immediately after crash, and you take a look at their earnings before, once again
Okay.
immediately after, like,
Okay.
no, I don't.
Fair. Fair. Fair.
Maybe
The thing
because they're
with Netflix.
relevant, like
Okay.
they're getting talked
Okay.
about. Good.
Let me explain. Netflix, they offer a service that's worth more than a profit.
Um, what? You mean
Yes,
you mean like there are financial backers that won't let Netflix fail? Is that your point?
probably, man.
Oh, I totally agree with that. We see that with the Obamas. getting all involved with them. Like, of course, they've got heavy duty backing, just like Hollywood did back in the day, and it's projected at all this stuff. But I don't get your point. Like, that doesn't make their stock value go up. And you're the one that
It
requested us
it,
to.
it it's not about. I'm telling you, man. Okay, let me explain this more. Okay, so would you say that companies like Google, Netflix, Amazon, they provide a service that's that should fuck. How can I say this? But I'm just saying I see why Netflix's stock went up.
But it didn't.
It did though. During the pandemic, it went up, dude.
Hold on. Everybody's stock went up during the pandemic when the House released 2.6 trillion dollars,
Two
right?
point two.
2.2, right? six thousand
Uh,
six hundred dollars per citizen. Um, so Amazon released, or sorry, the government released all this money into the universe, the world, right? The economy, and the money became less valuable, so stocks went up. Like all the stocks went up when the money started being printed. That's why you see this bottom in every single one. And if I jump out of here and I go to the DJI, or probably more indicative of it, like look at the S&P 500 where we see that same thing. Let me go back to year to date here to make it so clear. Is we see this massive fall, and then the government released that bill, and then bump 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 rebuilding, and so you look at that obvious market manipulation, but then you just pull it back to 1 month, and you're like, oh, or even 3 months to give you an idea. Like, we're not even that much higher than we were in October. I know we broke the 30,000 when you look at it from the DJI, but we're under it again. So the 30,000's right about here. But we're just marginally above where we were in mid October. And so we're just seeing this downturn and this upturn that came back. And now, I mean, there's a couple questions about why is it going on. I don't believe that it's just I don't believe that it's just market manipulation that doesn't, or sorry, I don't believe that it's just speculation that Biden would be president, especially when you saw after the beginning of November in 2016, you saw the market start to recover. If we take like maybe a 1 year look at this, and we scroll it back to put in Trump's election time, we see that markets view Trump favorably, and Biden and
That is
Obama,
true.
they didn't. So there's just I need a better explanation for, oh well, everybody's happy that the war hawk's getting back in. Let's go look at 2016 here. Yeah, so here is November 2016. So this is Donald Trump's election day,
Yes.
right? This is November 4th. And then you're like, woohoo, all the way up, baby. And now if I put that whole thing into perspective and I go 5 years on this, like when we come back to November, like look, it's pretty small in comparison to everything that's gone on. But this right here, this window was Donald Trump optimism, everything about that. And then we just see growth. This is Donald Trump's chart pre corona.
Yes.
So you're telling me the entire market turned on him because of his handling of coronavirus? The entire global world stops and the elite businessmen are like, oh, this guy, Joe Biden, who's had 50 years in politics, he's the one that's going to save us from the guy who created, well, tons of flipping wealth. Look at Donald Trump's chart pre COVID. So,
That's fair.
on that
Okay.
trend, with 30,000 being about right here, oh, no, sorry, it's lower than that. 30,000 is about right here. On this trend, we would have hit 30,000 in March, maybe, if the virus didn't hit or whatever it is hitting. But so you're telling me that all these speculative investors have just reversed their 4-year position and are like the guy who led us through the biggest modern economic crisis and barely recovered it with no growth until Trump came in. His election is what's inspiring our brand new confidence. Explain that to me.
It's difficult to explain, but here's what the media is projecting.
I don't care what the
Okay.
media was projecting. I want your
Okay. No, no.
thoughts.
Let me explain from my perspective, dude. Fuck. Wait. All right. So I have to go by what I hear, right? Like,
No, go
sure.
by what you think.
Wait, 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 wait,
Who
wait,
cares what you
wait,
hear?
dude. Let me explain, dude. Shit. Jesus. Let me explain. All right, all right. So, where was I? I lost my train of thought. Okay.
Don't know
So,
if you have one. You're contradicting yourself. You're going back and forth between
no,
this is
I'm
what I
not.
think and this is what I hear. So I don't know which one it is.
But wouldn't you say what you hear can influence what you think?
Sure, but it doesn't dictate it.
That's fair. That's a fair point. I'm just saying.
I think what the media
Sometimes
is saying
I
is
like.
nonsense. And so I want to hear an argument on that as opposed to quoting.
It is nonsense, yes. But let me ask you. Okay. Uh, like there are still people who still believe in that shit. What did you say?
Um, I mean, yeah,
It's
there are there
going.
are there are people, but I don't think there are people who have let's move the market kind of money who believe the media. Maybe some, but not that many.
No, I agree. So, okay. So the entire question here is why do they want to get rid of Trump when they had 4 years of great growth? And here's my answer. I
Who's
really
they?
think what.
Who's they?
So you were talking about the people trying to manipulate the market.
No, 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 no. You were talking about speculative investors driving the market because a Biden victory is what they're speculating. And I said that makes no sense whatsoever. A Biden speculative victory would drive markets down, not up. And so I'm saying, number one, the big business people don't expect Biden to take office. And number two, these surges in the market are not natural, they're artificial. So I'm contending on those 2 points.
I agree with the fact that they're being propped up. It's not natural.
Okay.
That I do agree with. It's
Okay,
just
but you
that
said you said earlier that it was speculative investors, which would be a natural change.
I
Speculative
think it's
investors investing.
both. Okay, well, like can't it be both though? Like you have your Robin Hood people, then you have these big institutional people.
Yeah, but I don't think the Robin Hood people even come close to moving the volume required. Um, I'm trying to figure out exactly um, how much they move through. I'm looking at Motley Fool right now. I don't know if I'll be able to find it quickly, but no, I don't believe that Robinhood investors have any real capacity to move indexes. Now we're talking indexes like the SJI or the S&P 5 sorry, the DJI or the S&P 500. Now, of course, with 13 million accounts, which is what Motley Fool's telling me right now, they could be influential in a single stock. They could pump and dump a single stock, these Robinhood investors. But it is not meme capitalists who are bringing down the entirety of the market up. Like if we look at any single stock market on the Nasdaq or on the NYSE, it's going to follow this overall trend. Like consistently will follow this overall trend. When I jump it up to the year to date, we'll see flatline growth coming out of the holiday season. We'll see massive dive corona, and then we'll see build back up to slightly higher than it was before. But like I said, from the current trend, this is just a year's earnings gone. It's not specifically new, and we already know how much money the U.S. government pumped into the economy during this time. And where I want to get to next is looking at some more interesting charts because we've got something that the Fed is controlling, but in the opposite direction. When we take a look at this silver and gold, and we've got the Fed trying to keep it down. And honestly, what surprised me the most out of this isn't the fact that gold's going down, because I expected the government to try to force that, and isn't the fact that the
Bitcoin.
NYSE is going up. It's the fact that Bitcoin is skyrocketing too. And now once again, people are saying like it's this massive amount, but in this one, it kind of is, because we see a Bitcoin sell off in March like everything else, but we don't see Bitcoin recover to normalcy. It should be about right here if it was on percentage with the rest of the market. Instead, we see it tricking back to the 2017 highs, which is like the pumpiest and the dumpiest of all Bitcoin days.
I remember that. I lost my money that year.
Well, if you held on to
Uh,
your
uh,
Bitcoin, you would be back in business, my friend, because the peaks have mounted.
no, no, no. I sold the Bitcoin before it hit 19,000.
I see. Well, we're just about at 19,000 again, and I'm thinking about switching what little Bitcoin I do still have over
Microbits.
over into gold would be my thinking. No, I wouldn't reinvest in another cryptocurrency. Those have been pumped and dumped. I want nothing to do with this roulette wheel. That is beyond my understanding. I'd like to
What's
take
the
a
volume in Bitcoin?
the
Can you go
volume
back
in
to the volume?
Bitcoin is steadily popping. Like you can see it popped here when everybody sold off, and it's popping right now, but nothing substantial.
No, it's popping up here, like in the new pump here, but the
Yeah, in this
volume seems very low.
in this second, it's increased, but it's nothing compared to the 2017, 2018 numbers. So I think we're I think this might be a little bit of speculation, but I also know from a couple of my friends in the Bitcoin industry that the U.S. government has hundreds of thousands of wallets of quote unquote lost Bitcoins. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's market manipulation in this too. This one I just understand less.
There was a story that came out a few days ago. I'm not sure if it's a real story or if it's or if it's real, but apparently the Chinese government seized 4 billion in b- bitcoins,
Like in the past few days or a few weeks.
something like that. Yeah.
Interesting. The U.S. government confiscated a billion, I think, right as the spike started to happen. So it probably means the U.S. government needs to sell off some of their Bitcoin. So they're causing the spike. They'll sell it. and then we'll see it drop back again. One of the reasons I'm thinking about switching it over to gold or silver, um, in my own right. But we're living in a very weird world where, put it in perspective of us, like if we take a look here, this is a 5 year chart of the US dollar to the dong. So normally, guys, we sit at around 23,000, which is right about here. And that's what we've done for pretty much my entire duration here, which is really interesting at the stability. But it's really been an eye opener to me to show how locked to the U.S. dollar much of the world is. And so we talk about as the U.S. dollar expands, it affects a lot more. Um, I think this dip here in 2018, 17, at least on the ground here in Vietnam. I would say in 2016 it was back at 2000 or 23,000, which means we see a growth on in real currency that we didn't see on paper. But taking a look here at the euro to the USD. All right, let me make sure I've got this right. Okay, so this is how many dollars it takes to buy a euro. So right now we're sitting at about 120, which, if we look at a 5 year chart, isn't that high. If we look at the all time chart, it's quite low. But when we look at this year to date chart, what interesting is me here is this growth, right? So as all the stocks are crashing, the dollar becomes worthless. And then we print more and the dollar adds to the value. And then you see like the stabilization of ripples. And then a few months later, the catch up of how much money we printed goes in. And if you look at the Great British Pound, the chart is almost identical. The only real influx that would come in here at this chart is the fact that the United Kingdom did go through Brexit during all this. But if we take the 1 year chart, we see this drop here, and then our currency starts to be printed. Like everyone's currency took a bigger hit than ours did up until we started to do that bailout bill. And it's so funny listening to fiscal conservatives yell against these bailout bills, and all the woke liberals are like, money's just an object, it doesn't matter. But you see here, quite literally, how this affects every American's pocket immediately when they print money who has to buy things overseas. Now, we see the VND is so unbelievably supported by the US dollar that it didn't really affect us. Look at this. Even this spike was only the 23.6, which,
Oh, that's not bad.
no, back down to 23. We're talking 23,000 dong in a dollar. And
Well, the only time I noticed like that was back in April when like shit started getting a little bit more expensive, about like 1 to 2,000 dong.
April, it started regular, normalized a little bit. I remember in March, I was getting paid for an IT gig overseas in U.S. dollars. So I was bringing in U.S. dollars every month and then converting them to dong in hand. And I never got quite as high as they're saying at 23.6, but I definitely went to 23.4, and I'm probably at 23.0 right now if I went and traded. I haven't done it in a few weeks, but that's my feel for the economy. And gold, we see an interesting thing here. I would like the full 1 year chart because you see this growth of gold here, guys. Nothing to do with coronavirus, nothing to do with politics, just the Chinese New Year, man. The Chinese New Year sets off this gold buying season that usually takes about 3 months to rectify. But we don't see it rectify here. And in fact, we haven't seen it rectify very much in the past 5 years. So we're seeing December here. Once again, the Chinese New Year starts and the gold buying season begins. And then we see another December here and the Chinese gold season begins. And if we go back here, bet we'll find this valley. December again. The Chinese gold buying community goes again. So people asking me, why is gold and silver dropping? And it's like, well, stocks are overflowing at the moment for the beginning of the start of the Chinese New Year gold buying season, which is absolutely massive. So now is your time, ladies and gentlemen, to buy your gold and buy your silver less so. But your gold for sure is going to start to rise in the next 3 weeks, and it won't come down. If history is to be the guise of anything, that will happen, I believe, the 12th of December, or sorry, of February. Is that the Chinese New Year this year, Sash?
It's early February. Yeah,
Yeah. So,
we're gonna get 2 weeks off. So, yeah, we
oh,
get.
good.
So the first week starts late January. Then uh, no,
Maybe the
I think
first
it
week.
starts February this week. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it starts February this week. I mean, this year, next year.
I do believe that it's February 12th, but let me check that.
February 12th.
I wonder if DuckDuckGo is good enough to pull up the answer automatically, and they are not. New Year's Eve, the holiday
It
16th from
says
New Year's Eve to the 15th day. This is not very helpful off the start of it. February 12th is the first day of the Chinese New Year. So we are going to see massive gold buys all the way up until then, both from the consumer market and I would imagine from the speculative market, because as the week goes by, I am seeing more and more evidence of foul play in the election, and I am seeing a more and more indication that Donald Trump will in fact be our president on January 20th. What are your feelings? What impressions are you getting, Sash?
um I see your point, and you're probably right, but I still think Biden's going to get in.
Still think that Biden is going to get in, so it's going to be quite
Y-
it's going to be quite a massive showdown if that happens. So I would expect if Biden comes in, another bailout bill is imminent. Now, why, if with everything we're seeing right now, with the fact that the Republicans ended up winning the House, what's your scenario? We're seeing Pennsylvania refusing to certify votes. We're seeing Wisconsin refusing to certify votes, and we're seeing Georgia refusing to certify votes. So if those three states refuse to certify votes, it looks like we're going to enter into December 13th without either candidate being at 270 electoral points. So what's your feedback from there? What do you disagree that's going to happen? Do you think that they'll end up caving and certifying, or do you think somehow Joe Biden can win if he doesn't have 270 points?
I think I think that they're going to cave.
You think they're going to cave and certify results? I'm finding that increasingly
I
unlikely
think
with
here's what's
the.
going to I say here here's what's going to okay, well, let me ask you this. Do you believe Trump when he says he's going to leave if the college votes him out?
Do I believe Trump is going to leave if the Electoral College shows him? Yes, I do not think Trump wants to be arrested by a SWAT team from D.C. Yeah, I don't. I think the
I mean,
National Guard to D.C. would probably be the ones who fell to responsibility to remove Trump if he did overstay. And I see zero chance of Trump potentially sacrificing his life to be a. I'm like if the Electoral College votes against him, like legally, you're talking about they go to the Senate on January
that's the right,
6th
yeah.
and they cast the vote and they do it all completely legit and the electorals are elected all completely legit and there are no pending court cases and Biden wins. Do I think Trump will leave? Obviously.
What if he doesn't?
Who cares?
Really?
Like, it doesn't make him president longer if he lives in the White House. They'll just send law enforcement in to get him out. Once he loses control of everything, what you think that's how the Civil War is going to start? Like with a president, like that is unprecedented and never before happened in American history. Now, someone being called the winner and all the states going, wait a second, our elections were rigged, we're throwing out all of our ballots, and our local representatives, our legislators are going to decide the electors according to the Constitution of the United States. That's happened before. That's part of our political proceedings. But there's not like an iron throne in the White House Oval Room that makes you president. The people around you, the military listening to you, makes you president. So the only way I see Trump trying to stay in is if he has support of the military. And the only way I see Trump having support of the military post legitimately and legally losing the election is a military coup. And I do not see a
I don't
military
see that
coup on the
happening.
horizon. I don't either.
That would be too fucked.
Like, this isn't Game of Thrones where there are some of actually, this is you might disagree with me here, and there aren't supposed to be any of us who love our leaders so much that we would die for them irrationally. Now, as we've pointed out before when we were talking about election fraud, Donald Trump is popular. He fills
Very.
stadiums. He has fans. He legitimately has fans in the way that no politician before Obama kind of had fans. But then Trump totally has fans, kind of crazy fans too. And so, like, I guess there are some people who would die for Trump, but the average person working in his administration is not one of those crazy people. They're people who have worked in D.C. I know some of them. I'm from Washington D.C. I know people in his administration in the White House, and they are not going to offer up their lives in jail to support him if he legally loses. Now, CNN declaring Joe Biden president elect means approximately zero things to any of these people. Now that's going to get clipped by all the truthers to prove that I'm Illuminati with the one eye thing. But that wasn't my point. My point was not a nil, zero chance that his administration is going to put up this epic battle at Donald Trump giving a speech like, we will stand forever on the field of the White House, and you will not die in Washington, D.C., but you will die fighting the swamp. Like, no, it's just, he's a comedian. So I don't see a military coup, and I don't see any other way he stays. I don't see another way how he can stay when, like, it's IT guys that will remove his access from the White House. It's not like he has a key to the city. He has an RFID card that'll be deleted. Just like he's going to lose his Twitter handle by Jack Dorsey. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, go
So
ahead.
so, but you still believe that Trump is going to say "So help me God" on January 20th?
Yes, I very much believe Donald Trump will be president for 4 more years, and I do not think it'll be illegal. I think that everything we're getting propped up now is for the great crash that'll happen under Trump, right? Like the government's building all these stocks up, which means they can deflate them at any time. So I think we're going to see the turns of the table. And we are going to realize maybe not even December 13th, because December 13th is when the states need to certify their ballot certify their electors to the House of Representatives, which will then get sent. But like I said, we're seeing states that might fail to do that. We might see Michigan, we might see Pennsylvania, we might see Georgia, we might see Wisconsin fail to certify electors. And this part is not new in American history. This has happened because of voter fraud very many times. Even as I think we mentioned in the previous podcast, in 1864, during Abraham Lincoln's reelection, they found out that there was a mail in voter scam to use all the mail-in votes from the soldiers to go against Lincoln artificially, right? And so we're not in new territory. States have thrown out their ballots and then decided their own electors very many times. And states have uh, failed to send electors many times. And if the states fail to send electors, then it goes to the current House of Representatives. But here's the thing, it's not all 435 members, or sorry, 438 members of the House of Representatives vote. It's
It's five,
one.
435.
Yeah, I'm sorry. 538 is the not the total number of senators. It's the total number of points in the Electoral College. 435,
Yeah,
or sorry, 535 is the total number of congressmen. So I just
yeah.
memorized them backwards. So, but my point is it's not all 435 members of the House of Representatives that vote for the new president, but it is in fact only one from each state, and that puts us at a 28 to 22 Republican to DNC lead. Don't even need the
Wait,
Supreme Court.
didn't Bush v. Gore get decided in the Supreme Court?
Bush v. Gore was different, but yes, it did. So what happened in Bush v. Gore is they did a recount and they said Gore won Florida, and then they said, "Hey, judge, there's a problem with these 60,000 ballots. These 60,000 ballots don't really count for XYZ reason. The hanging Chad, if you remember, right?" And so
Yeah, the chat.
So what happened was is the judge said, okay, put those 60,000 ballots in this pile, count the 60,000 ballots, and then count the rest of the ballots, and then we'll go to court and we'll decide if those 60,000 ballots are valid. And then basically those 60,000 ballots changed it from Bush to Gore. And then the Supreme Court ruled on December 12th, with December 13th being the day that Florida had to officiate its electors, had to rule that the ballots were invalid. And then after that, Florida sent electors for Bush.
Okay.
So that was just about those 60,000 ballots. We don't have any case in front of the Supreme Court kind of like that right now. We have tons of cases and tons of statistical evidence of voter fraud that's going to be to the point where it's unfixable. In 2000, there was this neat little pile of 60,000 ballots that they ruled invalid. We don't have that neat little pile this time because machines in Georgia have been erased in violation of a judge's order that then got reversed, right? So they actually destroyed ballots, which is illegal to do for 7 years. So this makes recounts and audits impossible. And once audits are impossible, they don't say, oh, well, we caught it Biden already and we can't do an audit, so I guess Biden wins. It then goes to the state legislature, so like senators of Georgia specifically, to vote the electors in. And the votes of the people be damned. Nowhere in our system does it say that Americans get to vote. I'm sorry, but it's not part of the Constitution. The system says that states will get to determine electors based on their own population, send those electors to D.C., and on January 6th, they will cast their vote and choose the president. You don't have the right to vote. I'm sorry, but whoever's telling young Americans this, it's nonsense. They don't. The legislatures can throw out the ballot at any time for any reason. And the only one where we don't have a Republican legislature is, I think it's Illinois, so like that one's not likely to be considered, and maybe Michigan to an extent. I'm not totally sure. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. It does.
So I don't see any way for Joe Biden to win except by like just really ignoring all this corruption to a level that it's gonna make people mad, really mad. And I mean, it's like I said, now or later, it's scary if Biden wins, and it's scary if Trump wins. Not because I mean, Trump's entertaining. I think he's funny. I like him. I'm okay with 4 more years of him, but like now, like you said, there are people who literally believe the TV. There are people
Yeah.
who would take a 100% swear and make a bet that Biden will win the presidency. And some of them are a little crazy. And so, what's going to happen when they're just like, nope, JK, back to Trump, baby? Know what I
Do
mean?
you think the majority of Trump supporters have uh, 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 accepted Biden as president by now?
No.
Like,
I've seen polls that say something like 60% of Americans expect that voter fraud happened in this election. No, I think all of the Trump supporters you see on social media that have accepted a Biden win, I think the vast majority of them are bots.
okay,
And I've seen like a huge surgence of I've seen a huge insurgence of Republicans who are like, well, Biden win. Now it's time for unity, who've had their Twitter accounts created like September 2020.
or they're the Lincoln Project types.
Very, very possible. All right, so let's take a look at this real quick. Um,
I saw that.
And constitutional that could enable Trump to stay in office without actually winning the vote. The system of electing the president is complicated because it was not designed to be directly democratic. The Constitution calls for states to choose the presidential electors, who in turn gather to vote for the president. Over time, states have passed laws that ensured their state's popular vote for the presidency would determine the electors. But those are laws, not a constitutional obligation. Now, imagine the scenario during election week. Trump is leading on November 3rd, but Joe Biden pulls ahead in the days following. Republicans file objections to tens of thousands of mail-in ballots. Democrats file countersuits. Taking account of the confusion, legislators decide to choose the electors themselves. Here's the worry. Of the 9 swing states, 8 have Republican legislatures.
do you see my point?
Yeah, yeah.
Of the 9 swing states, 8 have Republican legislatures, and he's not done yet.
One or more decide that balloting is chaotic and marred by irregularities. They could send what they regard as the legitimate slate of electors, which would be Republican. Democrats may object and file lawsuits. In some of those states, Democratic governors or secretaries of state could send their own slates of electors to Washington. That would add to the confusion, but that might well be part of the Republican plan. Because you see, when Congress convenes on January 6th to tally the electors' votes,
Remember, December 13th is the date that all the states have to say who their electors are on paper. But January 6th is the day that all the electors come together in Washington, appoint the president, and then January 20th is when the inauguration happens. We've got a long way to go.
there would be challenges to the legitimacy of some electors. It's possible congressional Republicans could decide that disputed states should simply not be counted. Suppose in this scenario, Michigan's votes are invalidated. That would
This is what's so hilarious. So, this one has already put Georgia and Pennsylvania back to Trump. Notice this is a CNN map. And they've put Pennsylvania and Pennsylvania and Georgia back to Trump, which, hello. Remember, they're telling you Biden's.
Hypothetical, dude.
I know, but he's starting with the hypothetical that already assumes against what the counter narrative is, because he's taking notice of how many of these ballots have had problems. More ballots, more mail-in ballots for Joe Biden came in Pennsylvania than total mail-in ballots were sent out, and 7,000 ballots in Pennsylvania were received before any mail-in ballots were sent out. I'm being I'm being too loud on this. I turned it up for the video. Oops, I need to be quieter. So like it's absolutely it's so obvious some of the fraud here. So they're saying the Pennsylvania's flipped back. They're saying Florida, interestingly enough, is blue now. But anyway, his point is the way that CNN currently has the map, all it takes is one state in contention. Like, look, it's just Michigan. And look, Biden and Trump are both below.
Ensure that neither candidate would get to 270 electoral votes. At that point, the Constitution clearly directs that the House of Representatives vote to determine the presidential election. But it does so with each state casting a single ballot. If the current numbers hold, there would be 26 state delegations that are Republican and 23 Democratic, with one tied.
And here is my second point. So as current things are, Pennsylvania is an unknown because they have an equal number of representatives, both for Republicans and both for Democrats. But as it is, take a look. The current states are Republicans, which would mean for Biden to win, because I'm expecting this scenario now. I'm expecting at least one state to not send electors or to send two sets of electors, which means they get thrown out, which means that Biden and Trump, neither of them gets to 270, which means they go into this House of Representative push to cast the vote. And the amazing thing on that one is that it's in the hands, basically, of the GOP. And if the GOP House of Representatives, even if they are corrupt, and let's say like Trump is some hero to save us all.
Wait, didn't the Democrats re-win the House?
No.
I'm pretty sure that the Democrats still lead the House.
There are a few elections that are still in runoffs that we don't know yet, but this doesn't matter exactly about the 435. Remember, so there is a chance that the Democrats are still 2 or 3 seats ahead, because California, where they have a vast majority of House of Representatives, they still only get to cast one vote.
Okay.
So this is about the House members in each state will then take a vote, and this is about which states have more House members that are Republican than do that are Democrat. And like I said, it doesn't really matter what the total count is. There are so many different House battles right now that are still in contention that I don't know if the Republicans really will get a red House, but they're within 1 or 2 seats of taking it. But this math is a little different. I think he's done, but we'll let him finish his point real quick.
The outcome would be to re-elect Donald Trump. Trump doesn't need to do anything other than to simply accept this outcome, which is constitutional.
There
Which
you
is
go.
constitutional.
Trump doesn't need to do anything. He just needs to accept this outcome, which is constitutional. Now, you show me the way for him to constitutionally lose. I mean, the GOP could turn their back on their supporters. The GOP members of the House could vote in Biden and say it's better for the country, and we need to heal, and we need to unite, and every single one of them will lose their election in 2 years.
Yeah.
It's just 2 years for House of Representative members. Remember, it's not 6.
That
So
is true.
these people don't have that long of a memory. So maybe if it was 6 years away, you could argue, be like, Josh, it doesn't even matter. No one will remember 6 years from now. And you're probably right. But 2 years into Biden, with how rabid we have come about politics, and all it takes is one mess up in the DJI, or one mess up in an international conquest, and then the Republicans will give all that blame to Biden, and any senator who dared to go against Trump in 2020 will just be gone.
Yeah. So what's your final prediction?
My final prediction is that January 20th, we will get a Trump victory. Trump will come in last minute. Everyone will be mad. People will start rioting. The stocks will start to come down. Gold and silver will start to go up. And I think there's got to be international war peppered in too. So I'm expecting something there. To be honest, I'm expecting dark days. No matter who wins, I just think it'll be worse for Americans right now if Trump wins, and it'll be worse for the world if Biden wins. So I'm kind of 50-50 on this one, but my prediction is that Trump stays in the White House and things continue to get crazy and more hectic. What's your prediction?
Uh, Biden and Bubba with the same thing. It's gonna get more chaotic.
Well, don't you think that if Biden wins the White House back home, will calm down? Don't you think that they'll lose steam for these riots and these protests that are going on in D.C. and Minneapolis and Portland and L.A. and Oakland and stuff like that?
I mean, yeah, but look at the effect that he's going to uh have on foreign policy.
Yeah, but you even look
Like he's
at
going to,
who cares?
yeah,
Americans don't care if brown people die. Well,
that's
foreign brown people.
yes, yeah.
I mean, it's true. Like Vietnam was the last time we really had any kind of community gathering about anti-war. Like I don't even think those hippies really cared about the war effort. I think the young boys didn't want to go to war, and the young girls wanted to be a part of a movement, and that's it. I think if there was no draft, that there's no way that the anti-war movements of Vietnam would have been so successful. Personally,
Okay, that's a fair point.
I mean, if you reinvite the draft, I think Americans will be marching in the streets. But
Oh
our
yeah,
our
that
industrial, like, we idolize the military so much that there are enough young boys who want to go die for Zion Don
yeah.
than are needed. So that's something that scares me a little bit. I just don't think
It
Americans
does.
care if we go back to war. We've been in Afghanistan how many years?
20 years.
And I've seen even liberals now where they've decommissioned a few bases in the past few weeks and we're pulling troops out of Afghanistan, and liberals are roasting Donald Trump for pulling troops out of Afghanistan. Like, you can't even make this stuff up.
No, you can't. So if Biden wins, who do you think he'll start the first war with?
Oh, I think we'll go to a war with Iran within 6 months.
Okay,
I think there will be boots on the
I
ground in Iran in 6 months.
when Trump first got in, I was worried that he was going to go into Venezuela.
Well, he continued some funding in Venezuela for a little bit and then pulled out when what's his name started to lose, right?
Guaido, yeah.
Yeah, he kind of backed both horses, and he didn't really know how to play that one when he first got in, is my memory. And he's like, "Oh no, this guy's cool." And he's like, "Actually, no, he's a shit gun. Moving on. We're going to the other team." Rah rah rah. Well,
Oh,
but that's what we were talking about last week, where Trump is a populist. Like, he definitely wants to be popular. He is popular, but I think right now, guys, we are in some of the best time to buy gold ever. As I've said before, the we're nearing the Chinese gold season, and that's a beautiful time. We're down here at a little lull that we haven't seen since June. Of course, we saw quite steady rises all the way through this year because of the coronavirus, but I still think we've got a very long way to go. I think that we're in through some difficult times. Bitcoin is probably my biggest unknown. I don't know who's forcing that to go up, so I don't know how long it'll stay. I'm back and forth on selling my little bit and getting gold now, or seeing if I can wait a month or two. But I expect it to get crazy in the times ahead because Trump's team is not done yet. But we've got an interesting few weeks ahead, to be sure. We are now 2 weeks and a day away from the December 13th mark, where things will be a little bit clearer than they are now. We'll know for sure if I'm right in expecting that there will be some states who will not send certified electors, or perhaps everyone will be in unison. Sasha will be right, and Joe Biden will be confirmed by the GSA as the official president-elect, and Trump will concede. My guess is if Trump really does legitimately and legally lose, he will leave the White House before Inauguration Day and just never go back.
Do you think if Trump loses, we'll ever see him ever again?
Yeah, the right wing speculation of Trump um, starting his own TV channel or news network just seems so possible to me. He's so name branded. He, like you said, he's got fans. He's got so much popularity that I see a real chance that he'll go into news broadcasting if he disappears. What about you?
Yeah. I think if he loses, we won't see him for a very, very long time.
Nah, he'll want to jump in there and start ripping on Biden and be like, see, I could have done this better. The more,
I
like, if,
told you.
yeah,
I told you so.
yeah,
I told you
right.
so.
Right. He'll want a Monday morning quarterback everything. In fact, he'll probably just have a show that says, the fifth year president, and it'll just be him talking crap about all Biden's choices.
Yeah.
That's kind of my guess. Like I said, man. At the end of the day, I think they're all actors, and I think they're working for the exact same people. And I don't think that they remove people from their stage very often. Look at the fact that we still have Joe Biden. He's 95 years old, and he's been vice president for 8 years. Like, can't they get new blood, please? Like,
Yeah.
come on. How many people did they have that change? Like Andrew Yang would have slaughtered Donald Trump in a fair election.
Yes. I believe that. But
No
I
way
believe
Bernie
that
could have.
if
But Andrew
no,
Yang would have
Sanders is
killed
weak.
him. Yeah, Sanders is totally weak, especially after the giant cuckening of 2016, where he's like, we're going to take this to the convention, and we're going to challenge Hillary Clinton. And then he's like, nah, bro, she bought me a new house. Like, I like houses. Y'all are homeless. You don't know what this is like. And and that was it. Like, it just seems
Yeah.
too obvious to me.
Yeah.
There was one more thing I wanted to address before we wind it down, but I'm having oh, there were a couple of things actually. Did you know that in 2019 in April 4th there was a like some fashion show on Project Runway, and there was a designer named COVID who designed a mask to go with the dress.
Oh, there's nothing coincidental about that.
COVID's look. Would you mind putting your mask back on? Thank you. I had not noticed COVID's detail, this 3D applique. I mean,
Like, I didn't even believe this at first, and I had to go and fact check it. I was like, "There's no way this is 2019. Like, her name's COVID, or the designer's name is COVID, or something." But like COVID Kapoor, Project Runway designer,
Uh,
celebrates his personal experience. This is 1 year ago. Like, it's not even. There's the Instagram tweet by COVID, like with the mask on and everything. It's totally 100% and completely real. It was cracking me up the whole time. I couldn't even handle it. I absolutely couldn't handle it. And like, I mean, this is another thing that we don't really have time to go through, but this is just talking about how statistically improbable and unlikely Joe Biden's win was. So there seems to be so much mounting evidence to me that it's just a matter of time before this gets called back and put in the favor of Trump. Do you honestly think Trump will stay in the White House even if there's the Electoral College elects Biden?
Honestly, yeah, I don't think he could accept it.
Like, how would he stay? Like, just I'm not leaving. If you want to be president, get a different
Like
house.
he's going to be forced out. Like basically, he's gonna get dragged out like a child. Like, come here, come here, kid.
Like, you think there's going to be people with guns that are physically going to remove him from the White House?
Like maybe like the military or the National Guard.
Can't
Like
it can't be the
it
military.
won't be. It won't be too much of a spectacle. It'll be theater.
Wait. It will be theater or it won't be too much of a spectacle. Which one?
Okay. Okay. It won't be too much of a spectacle theater, if that makes sense.
No, like
Like it's going to be funny. It's going to be funny seeing it.
you think that this 75-year-old man will need to be literally drug out by men with guns to leave 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue?
I think he'll get uh, escorted out. Yes. I don't think he'll go.
Y- You think Donald Trump would risk living in jail compared to Trump
I don't think he's
Towers?
going to jail. I don't think he's going to jail for that.
You think Biden would pardon him if he tried to retain presidency after? Like, that's illegal. You can't stay in the White House uninvited when you're not the president. You'll go to jail. The Secret Service will arrest you and you'll go to jail for the rest of your life. You think Biden will pardon him from this, like, I don't know, it's not treason because we're not at war, and despite what Twitter tards tell you about everybody's getting convicted of treason, you can't be convicted of treason if we're not at war, and we haven't been at war since 1945. So nobody's getting convicted of treason no matter what. But it would be highly illegal to refuse to leave the White House, especially when you're not president anymore. Like, he can't get drug out before the 20th. You think they're going to go from Biden's inauguration to them dragging him out? Like, normally the president and the first lady come over to the White House before the inauguration and they shake hands and Trump's like, "This is my desk," and Biden's like, "I know." And then they all go to the inauguration together, and then the old first family leaves and the new first family goes to the White House. So you think like he won't invite Biden over? Okay, that's a possibility. But you think he won't go to the inauguration? That's a possibility as well. A weirder one. But
No,
you
he
think
won't go. He
during the inauguration, you think he'll be like locking doors at the White House? Do you know how big the White House is? Do you know how many staffers he would have to get involved? Like, there's no way to stay in the White House without someone to contend against the police force that's going to come take you out. The mayor of DC can call in um
No,
the
what I'm saying is that he's going to make this a spectacle. Like it'll be a very funny thing, but I don't think he's going to jail. I really don't.
paint for me a scenario in which Donald Trump refuses to give up the presidency and he doesn't go to jail after refusing to do that. I mean, also assuming like it was a constitutional election.
Okay. Okay, so like the police come or the National Guard, they basically push him out, and that's the end of it.
Right, but there are Trump's own security guards
He
surrounds him
throws a tantrum.
closer to him than Secret Service. So there are many men with guns that are directly paid for by Donald Trump around Donald Trump all the time. So like while you're envisioning this whole scene where he's like holding on to a doorpost being drug out, What are all those men that Donald Trump has paid for years and years' salaries and pay for their wives' clothes and their children's food? What are those men who carry guns and surround Trump going to be doing during that time?
I don't think they're going to risk it.
All right, so you think that the 6 people that Trump has selected and paid for because they'll risk their entire lives for Trump, you think they won't risk their lives for Trump, and you think everyone literally will just abandon Trump and he'll like be holding on to a bedpost and then like cops are going to literally drag him out of the White House, but he
Okay,
won't go to
honestly,
jail?
no, no,
Okay,
no, no, no.
because
Okay,
this sounds insane.
yeah, yeah, dude. I was just fucking with you, dude.
Okay. Yeah, this sounds absolutely insane. I'm not sure why we spent an extra 15 minutes of me just
No,
asking you if you really
I
meant
think
what you
he'll
say,
leave.
and then you're saying no, you don't
I
mean
think
what you
he'll
say.
leave.
I
Okay, he'll leave, but like he's going to like throw a tantrum.
what
Like
does
I don't think
that
he's
what does that
going to help
mean?
Biden.
Of course
Like he's
he's
gonna be
not going
like,
to help Biden, but like Obama didn't help Trump. So what does that mean?
okay, that's a fair point. That's a fair point.
Like we've already had a sour administration change. Of course, this next one will be too, but I mean, this next one will be sour in 5 years, even if it's not Trump to Biden, if it's Trump to whoever. Like they're not Republicans aren't going to win again. There'll be a new party or something. So, do
Wait,
you
you
have
think the Republicans are done?
um if Trump loses for sure, but no, if Trump wins, the Republicans will continue and the Democrats are done. Whichever party loses this year is done.
Okay,
Um,
like forever.
yeah. I think we'll have a progressive party and the left. I think that this was orchestrated to be the swan song of the DNC, and I think that we will see a new political party born to be the left wing. I think if Trump stays in office, if Biden stays in office, I think the GOP will be gone, and we'll see a new right wing, and that'll be equally weird. So you have no predictions other than if Trump loses, he'll be sad.
Yes.
Okay. I also agree that if Trump loses, he will be sad. And I think we'll see like Twitter temper tantrums, but I don't think we'll see anything besides that. My guess is if he does lose, he'll dip out to Mar-a-Lago like 5 days, a week before the inauguration, and then just never show up for any of the shit. And just be like, fuck it, Biden's your guy. Why don't you ask him to do it? And that'll be the end of it. All right, guys, we are 22 minutes over today. We had to get down to the bottom of our predictions. Keep on, keep it on, keep your faces smiling, and keep
Keep
trusting
predicting. Keep
that
predicting.
your actions determine your outcome. And whatever puppet is in this silly White House just does not matter. Trump will fix zero of your problems, and Biden will help
Biden
zero
will
people.
zero, zero. It's all a zeros.
Exactly. All
All
right,
right, guys.
guys.
See you
Coming from
later.
Sash and Joshua, have a wonderful rest of your morning.